I'm Phil Holton, and I'm really pleased that you came to visit my wood turning shop. For some of you that have been coming to my shop for a while, you got to see the outside of my shop. But this is my shop is kind of based on some Norwegian stabbur. So it has an overhanging kind of second floor, and it's got some big spindles on it. So I call this section monumental spindles. And so this is like something you'd have on a table leg or a lamp or something, but in a bigger scale. And I'm going to eventually take you to my big lathe so you can see how these are made. But this is a copy of an original in Norway. I used power poles from the 1950s that are cedar. And I want to show you one other thing up here on the above me. This is a technique that they use for turning spindles. It's a split spindle. So I turned it in one piece, and then I cut it down the middle so that I ended up with two pieces that are practically identical that could sit side by side. And I did it in such a way that I have an acorn over here and a pineapple over here that are old symbols of hospitality and welcome. So I'm going to take you into my shop now so that we can see how we turn big spindles, and I'm really glad you came today. All right, I want to welcome you into the to my big lathe. This is an old Oliver lathe. I found it south of Fargo years ago, and it's a pattern maker's lathe. And this, along with my bandsaw, were at Fargo Foundry for many years. I understand many of the Steiger tractor castings were first patterned out on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you a little bit about how this works to work on big pieces. It was a bit of a struggle to get this working, but I had some good help and built a riser block here at either end so I can turn 30 inches by 8 feet. So I can turn some very, very big stuff. And here I go with my running it. I even poured heavier stuff, concrete underneath here, so that this wouldn't hurt my floor. But so here's the way I'm going to do a monumental turning. And I could turn something much, much bigger than this even, but this works quite nicely. So first I'm going to rough this out so it's nice and flat and round. Then I'm going to take my big skew chisel, and I'm going to take some nice shavings off here. So this is the way you work with a big piece, and it helps to have a lathe that's very sturdy, strong, so you can leave this looking really nice. Now we'll go the other direction here. So this is called the skew chisel, and this is a particular model called the Allen Lacer skew. It's got a radius of an edge on it. Let's just see how we're doing so far. I think we're getting a very nice surface, maybe a little bit of tear out. Maybe a little bit of tear out, but not much. Pretty nice and smooth. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of coves here. I'm just going to sketch these out by hand. I think I'll put one more bead there. It's pretty much the same width that is. And then make another one the same width. Okay, so then we'll make a cove here. So the two most basic shapes on a spindle are the bead and the cove. It's kind of like an innie and an outie. There are lots of variations about that, if they're kind of shallow coves or if they're deeper. But they're still the most basic ways that we're cutting. This is basswood, and I've been enjoying harvesting some pretty big stuff that I have drying to use. I'm getting excited because I've got some big white pines that are the native tree in this part of Minnesota. I live on Big Pine Lake, and it was called that because this is where some of the biggest white pines around grew. And I'm kind of excited that I have an opportunity to turn some of those big white pines. I've got some 8-inch columns that will make some magnificent monumental spindles. You see here I'm given this shape. Beautiful shavings from this basswood here, but it means that I could make something like a totem pole. Would be a very nice things I could make out of some of those big ones. So you can see how if you light it from the end here, you get some really beautiful shadows that come from a spindle like that. Then I'm going to put another bead. I'm going to do a V cut right here. So a V cut. I'm going to cut in deeply. So you see we can make all sorts of different designs across there. I think that I will make another, probably a kind of a double bead at this end, and maybe kind of deep. So I'm going to cut a pretty deep V cut in between. Cut it from both sides. These big beams are so heavy, I have a hoist up above so I can haul them and lift them up here. Okay, now we'll just bring these both in from either side. I'm kind of excited that now that I've found some good big spindle material that are on my garden, I'm going to have some more kind of sculptural things that stand around. But I think you can see we can make some beautiful shapes. And so I'm glad you came to Phil Holton's wood turning shop to see some monumental spindles. I hope as you watch philholton.com, there on my website, I'll be showing you some pictures of some big spindles and what I do with them. Thanks so much for coming to Phil's wood turning shop. I'd love to help you find a beautiful piece of my wood turning for your home or for a gift, or to teach you how to turn wood yourself at one of my workshops. I have 2 videos that would also help you learn to turn.